This is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air. And with Taylor, um, last name again. I want to make sure I got it
Rose,
right.
Taylor Rose.
Rose, Taylor Rose, and I just want to make sure I got it right. So Taylor Rose, you're a business owner, professional athlete, coach to elites, and just we're going to talk about how you've been able to deal with mind shifts, and set shifts throughout your career, and that'll be kind of the focus. But we'll talk about your story. But we'll let people know that we are a featured podcast on the Newsly network. You can see that listen on Newsly icon. And for those of you who are listening or watching, if you use that coupon code GHOST, you can check that out for free for 30 days and see if you like that audio only version of the podcast. We will be on Newsly later tonight. But also to let people know, we've got your Instagram up there. That'll be fully clickable on the link below and your website for crownathletics.com. So welcome to the podcast, and how you doing tonight?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty great. It's been a great day. Just moving and shaking. You know how it is. Oh,
Yep. So yeah, it's fun. You know, we're at episode 1029, tracking that since 2016, and we're going to talk about, like we talked about earlier, is like what mindset shifts have you had throughout your career? And before we get to that, maybe you kind of introduce yourself to the audience and talk about your story to kind of give people like a vision of who you are.
Yeah, of course. So basically, my story starts off pretty much as a kid, always being athletic, doing basketball, soccer, all that fun stuff, right? But as you grow older, you kind of shift your focuses. And I would say my biggest shift in direction of what I did was when I was in high school. I had a meeting with my basketball coach where we had a little bit of a falling out, and I didn't play varsity that year. And that was the same exact day that I was doing track and field finals. And I was doing track for high jump and long jump to work on my hops for basketball. All right. That day changed everything. It changed my trajectory for the next 12 years about. After that day, track and field took over my life. I walked on to Cal State Fullerton and became a 400-meter runner. From there, I studied and got my degree in kinesiology, strength and conditioning, nutrition focused. While I was running at a high level at the D1 university, got to learn everything that I wanted to instill in myself as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
That continued to transpire into making it to the elite level where I got to run with some of the best in the world. And now I had my education to not only help myself, but others as well. So I started doing personal training for people, nutrition plans, the whole shebang, taking the knowledge that I learned from my education at university and helping more people than just myself with that. So I got to train with Sydney McLaughlin was my first track and field teammate. She's the current world record holder in the 400-meter hurdles, gold medalist. Her brother is actually my teammate, one of my clients right now as well, who was top 10 in the world last year. Rye Benjamin, Michael Norman, all top names in the track and field world. And I had the pleasure of being able to train with them, the top 0.0001% of the world, right? And being around them was magnificent from the athletic sports world, right? You learned a lot of things from them and the way they show up to practice and put in their diligence every single day. But that's their job.
Mm-hmm.
I also had another job too. I was opening up a gym. And oh man, doing two of the big things at once was tough, but you had to dedicate and be resilient with all the things that happen, but also prioritize where you needed to. So throughout that entire process from basically 2015 when I finished my collegiate career to 2021 was managing a business while also running at an elite level and then coaching elites too.
That's interesting because I've talked to some people who are maybe don't have the college background on top of their professional athleticism. Sometimes they might have like skipped that and gone right into professional level without finishing school. And so, like, when I ask in terms of like your knowledge base of actually taking courses that are related to your, part of your profession, does that give you like an upper hand in understanding like the full picture, like a more holistic vision of what you're doing, maybe not being as narrowly focused as some people maybe don't have the education background?
I would say it's a double-edged sword for sure. I will openly say I selfishly learned for a long time trying to be the best in the world or the best I could possibly be, and learning everything on the physiology and the nutrition and the recovery side of things to make sure I knew everything, even psychology. I took psychology classes to get into the brain of sports psych and figuring out how you can optimize the things in that way. So with that, I learned what I wanted to, but if I didn't learn that, it would be one-sided to receiving information from whatever coach I had at the time, right?
Hmm.
Which could be great, but they could also be lacking information. So
Hmm.
I didn't ever challenge my coaches. I'm a very coachable person. I respected them, but I would always present information and just ask and just be an open book and always wanting to learn. So it did help me learn extras that I can actually apply now years later, which is great to
Hmm.
help future athletes or current collegiate athletes. So during my actual career as a sprinter, I would say it aided me in getting a little bit ahead of the game, but sometimes I would focus a little bit too much on the details, and that
Oh,
could pull away from my focus of what I should be doing rather than, well, this said this, I should be doing this, but we're doing this over
yeah.
here. Yeah. So
You
that
get a
it's,
little too much noise. Yeah, it's a kind of a question. Like if you think about it like a musician, like if you're a musician that gets caught up in the sheet music versus like a feel-based music. Like if you're a fusion jazz player, we don't really bring the sheets in, right? We kind of just do it by the feel versus like classical musicians doing it based on what Chopin has on their page, right? So and then you like so if you come in there and you're more feel based, you're not really asking the questions, just kind of feeling it out and just not really diving into it or
mhm.
challenging the coach or just kind of just feeling the moment without talking about it or trying to dissect it. So
Yeah.
is it, maybe
Sometimes,
it could be a double-edged sword, I guess.
yeah, ignorance is bliss sometimes, but I think it is valuable in knowing things that you're doing too, because you can understand kind of the feel of it. And I think that's what I can really help people do now, since I've been on both ends of the spectrum, is being able to relate to people when they're in the practice to
Hmm.
how I've felt things in the past to make sure that they're feeling what they should or making that progress that they should be making, and understand where they're coming from when they do get frustrations, whether it's sports performance or general health and wellness.
Yeah, it's like understanding the theory. If you don't understand the music theory, you could be a natural, right? And you don't, and you just happen to understand it because you just have your natural ability. You just kind of know it, and so somebody didn't have to teach you because you actually know how to build that song structure. But when you're into something like you have maybe like people who are somewhat natural athletes, but you always your coach is going to teach you certain things. But you're like if that coach only has one vision, like you said, if you learn things outside of that, you could question and maybe
Hmm.
not totally challenge, but like for your own understanding, have a more holistic vision of what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, 100%. I actually, one of my biggest pet peeves in the fitness industry, at least, is extremes. If
Hmm.
somebody says all or nothing on this thing or all or nothing on this thing,
Yeah.
they create a lot of noise. They create a lot of attention, and they will get followers like no other. So
Hmm.
the easy one that I like to talk about is carnivore versus veganism. The
Yeah.
two complete opposite ends of the spectrum. Are they both right in some aspects? Probably. Are they both wrong in some aspects? I would say so.
Yeah.
So you need to live in the middle, but the middle
Yeah.
people are boring, right?
Yeah.
We're
It's
like,
boring. Yeah, to say you have balance, nobody wants to see like, oh, you're balanced. That's not
yeah,
sexy. That's not sexy. To say that maybe you should take a little bit of everything and look at the balance, like as if you because if you're extreme, yeah, you get the attention. It's like the headline. You draw the headline, you get the attention. If it's like, but it's not, make me disingenuous just to
mhm,
draw, you know, kind of buzzworthy. Say if you do buzzworthy things, is that really the holistic way to be sustainable? The problem I have with extremes is it sustainable? Are you doing something that's actually going to cause damage or is not actually realistic? So, like, then you get people that will give up, like on a diet. Like, if you do something super extreme, it's not doable for the rest of your life. So, you're probably going to fail and you're going to stop.
mhm,
Versus, like, if you feel like I've been a musician since I was 17 years old and I do it because I love it. I didn't do it because I want to be overnight success story. I do it because I like to do it. And so I found a way to continue to do it. And I'm 56. So I've been sustainable and I didn't drop off. I kept on doing it. And so I found a way to kind of live in a zone that's kind of not too far one way or the other. But I think that's where like you have to make decisions about what are you trying to do.
Yeah, 100%. That's how I live is the sustainability aspect is can you do this for a long, long, long time? And if you're doing whatever this is for a long time, is it going to benefit you or detriment you? This could go with anything in life, right?
Hmm.
If is whatever you're pursuing making you a greater person, or is it breaking you down and not allowing you to progress? So it's really easy to look at it from the fitness side of things, where say people want to lose weight and they go run. As a runner, that's probably the biggest mistake. I don't think running is the best thing for 99% of people, right?
Hmm.
As a
Yeah. What's the
sprinter,
goal?
it's
Yeah.
super technical. You're overweight. You're predisposed to impact injuries from just not striking properly.
Mm.
There's so many other ways that you could go about it, and you probably hate running. Why don't you do something you actually like? Like, don't
Well,
go
yeah,
out and do something you hate already.
yeah, like you're saying, it's not sustainable if you cause like knee damage or foot injuries or all kinds of other things that you're intending. What your goal is to lose weight and make it so it's like sustainable. But if you do something where you're going to injure your body, then you're probably not going to be able to do it, right? So how long could you actually do that if you're
Yeah,
not doing it properly?
injuring your mind too. Like we grew up with running as a punishment, so most people don't like it right off the bat. And I'm like, why
Right
are
off the
you
bat,
trying to
it's hard.
run?
It's a hardship.
Yeah, find something else. Shoot, I played pickleball for the first time a couple weeks ago. That thing was fun. Like
Aerobic
that.
activities, like,
Oh,
yeah, if you do something like tennis or pickleball or volleyball, you're getting into something, you play, something that just gets your aerobic activity. I'm a mountain biker, and
nice.
now do like
Where's
a
it? Right
single
there. That's mine. That's what I
yeah,
do
yeah.
now that I'm not running professionally anymore. I love riding.
Well, the thing about mountain biking, what I love about it is that you go on a single track, right? And a single track cross country, you have variation. Like if you have a nice trail, some of it is climbing, some of it's descending. And so you have this like high aerobic activity to get up the hill. But then you have to be able to hold on to the bike, come down the hill, and maybe go up the next hill. And so you have this thing where your rate goes up real high, and then it starts to come down because you got a little time to recover, and then you come back up, and it just keeps on like challenging yourself in this way where you have this. I like varied terrain, so I run into that kind of up and down hilly trails, running ridge lines and stuff. But it just gives you variation that
Hmm.
you can get into.
Yeah,
And it's fun because you're outside and you're enjoying it, and it's a skill set to stay on the bike.
yeah. And I have a question for you because this is perfect. The reason why I like riding my bike is because I used to do it as a kid. Like, did you used to ride around having fun on a
Yeah,
bike as a
I was
kid?
a kid that had a Schwinn Ghost, one of those like gray ghosts. And we
Nice.
used to watch Evil Knievel. I'm a child of the '70s, and we build ramps and we jump our gray ghosts. With gray ghosts really aren't meant to jump. I mean, they got little shocks, but they're really not meant to do it. So all us kids in the '70s, we had these like banana bikes, these twins, and then we realized these really aren't the best bikes for jumping. And then the BMXs showed up, and he said, "Well, these really still aren't the right thing." And then the mountain bikes showed up, like late '79, '80. These bump bike started showing up in the stores, and we're like, "Oh, this is the thing. These things can actually take the jumps. They can take going down the hills. They got wide tires. They're built to do what we're trying to do." So we kind of transformed into that, and we were just because we were watching Evil Knievel, and we're trying to jump ramps and do stuff, and we just getting into that. We just just outside messing around. But then we got real serious about riding trails, and we kind of were like the first. We didn't have helmets at first, and then we realized we'll knock our heads out without helmets. But you know, it's like you learn. You live and you learn. You go
Yeah,
over
that's
the
a
bars
big
enough
one.
time, you figure it out.
I've had not even one too many concussions, way too many concussions. So I don't ever leave without a helmet on now.
Yeah, in the '70s, we didn't know. If we were jumping ramps with no helmets, so we don't know. Then people say safety. It's like, what's that?
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, I have a whole protocol now for like, so I train some fighters and they get hit in the head a lot.
Mm.
Micro concussions, the CTE kind of thing, which I
Yeah, you gotta be
probably
careful.
have. Yeah,
Yeah, you
I
gotta be
really.
careful. Yeah.
But one of the really cool things is if you do have history of concussions, taking creatine, everybody thinks of creatine as muscles and getting stronger and gym
Oh, it
and
helps brain health.
big time. It
Mm.
can delay the onset of Alzheimer's, dementia, has some research on Parkinson's. But if you get a concussion and you're taking it, it won't be as bad. It'll help you recover faster. Your cognition is a little bit quicker when you take it. And it's especially beneficial for people beyond their 60s on the mental cognition side of things. And then women, it actually helps with bone density and
That's
everything. So it's like a super supplement for sure.
That's a cool thing to know. Because, I mean, back in the day, before the helmets, I crashed enough times, and then I got into the helmets, and I got into doing downhill biking, going to Vermont, and coming down the hills, and going like 40 miles an hour on the bike. but but it's a different thing. In this day and age, we wear like back plates, look like BMX guys. We're wearing full face armor, back plates, chin plates, knee pads, all kinds of stuff, and the bikes looked like kind of like motorcycles without engines. But it's a wholly different thing. But it's fun to get out there and challenge yourself. It's a human powered motocross machine, no engine.
I'd say it's about 50-50 now with these e-bikes taking over, though.
Yeah, I don't use one of those. But I mean, I understand, and I probably should. I'm getting old enough that he's like, oh, I should probably get that. I was like, well, I'm kind of still old school. Like, I'm gonna climb under my own steam, but lightweight bike instead of 50-pound bike.
Yeah.
25-pound bike instead of a 50-pound bike. But it's different mindset.
Yeah, it's a wild game out there now with all these e-bikes, but I mean, actually like them because people that don't have the ability to climb like we may can actually get on one and come ride with
Oh
us and
yeah,
be
it gets
okay.
people into the sport that probably would have the problem they have is they don't like the granny gear, and they don't
Mm,
want to have to suffer that climb. I found it, that's part of the biking experience. It was, if you're a cyclist that you got into the idea of climb, whether you're a roadie or a mountain biker, that being able to climb those hills and what it does to your body when you get into that mode of being able to do those ascents. It's not everybody can handle that, and maybe they don't enjoy it. Maybe it's like running. To some people,
yeah.
it's like that's like the last thing they want to be able to feel is climbing a 5-mile hill. you
Yeah,
know,
it's definitely a different ball game. But because as a sprinter going into mountain biking, it's more endurance based. I went in with the wrong mindset and I try to like smash a hill and I get like a quarter of the way up. I'm like, oh, I've got nothing left, and we still got like 400 feet of climbing. So
yeah,
there's
you
definitely
don't want
different
to do that.
dynamics. Yeah, no. But
Yeah,
hey, when you have that mindset of just I want to crush anything, then you just attack everything with all you got.
yeah, it teaches you a different level. Like I have to last this whole 10-mile ride, and there's multiple hills. So I
Mhm.
can't blow out on the first hill, you know, because there's 5 other ones. So, like, you better learn how to pace yourself to actually be able to finish the ride.
Yeah.
Get down the creek bed, because how are you gonna come down the creek bed if you're blasted out, you know? But that's the fun. It's like the mindset that you can get from different things. Maybe you can talk about, like, the mindset, that you have as a coach, and maybe, like, I've talked to people, it's like, you have to do you have a when you have your people there in your courses or taking your programs, do you really ask them to think about what they want? Like, what is their goal? Is that like the first thing you try to discover? Is like, why are they trying to do what they're doing?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a deeper purpose to anybody who comes in with, I just want to get healthy. What does that mean to you? Right. So, a lot of what I've done in the past is very focused on the fitness and nutrition side of things, which everybody knows about. But working with people in person and then working with elite athletes, there's something else ticking behind there. Why do you show up every single day? Why are you eating the foods that you do? Or even go to work. Like, why do you show up to work every day? What I found out that there's it's a Venn diagram of fitness and nutrition, right? There's
Mhm.
overlap.
Yeah.
Fitness keeps
Overlap.
your doctor happy, you know, your blood markers and everything like that, your heart health. Nutrition, the primary driver for that is going to be your weight, up, down, or the same. When you marry them both together, that crossover in the Venn diagram, you get really, really good results. And of course, both impact each other. But if you
Mhm.
look on the main focuses, fitness is health, nutrition is weight. There's a big circle right here, and that's this.
Mindset.
I never realized how much mindset work I did with my clients until about a year ago. And now that I've focused in on it and try to find out what their deeper why is, what the source of what they're trying to accomplish is, things unlock at a different level. And it goes beyond their fitness and their nutrition. So they unlock that, their workouts get better, they look better, they get leaner and stronger, but then they have better relationships with their husband and wives and kids, and they get better jobs or pursue greater things and just exude this confidence that they've never felt before because they believe in themselves and they start to attack the goals that they actually
Mhm.
have that were just kind of in the back of their head that they would push back with a smokescreen of like, oh, I just want to look a little bit better, right?
Yeah. Because a lot of
Once,
times it's yeah, I mean, what I think it happens with a lot of people is they have like imposter syndrome, or they're trying to do something because they're trying to satisfy what they think other people want. But my question to anybody, I'm a music producer, so it comes to me is like, what is it that you're trying to do, right? What are you trying to be, like a top 10, top 20 star? Or are you just trying to write the best song? Or are you trying to make a song that sounds like somebody else's song? What is your overall goal? Do you want to work on your craft and get to be the best you that you can be? Or are you trying to compete with somebody else and be who they are? Because I would tell you, like, most of the times, like, they already exist. They're already there. So like, maybe we should work on like something that is about like learning how to be the best you, which means like maybe you be vulnerable and show me something that I can work with that makes you uniquely different than anybody else. And that's your advantage. Your
yeah,
advantage as a creative person is not to be like Taylor Swift, but to be the best you can be, because she's already out there and she's already hitting $1 billion, right? So you're not going to get in her space trying to be her because she's already her. you know,
yeah,
so
I love that. I actually had a little like brain blast today with I went on a long run and my buddy told me about these new shoes that were better than the current ones that I was wearing. So Infinity Reacts are something that I've been wearing since I've had plantar fasciitis. So I tore my plantar fascia running. I've had PRP. I've had
um,
cortisone shots, all that fun stuff.
mhm.
The Infinity Reacts were the shoes that kind of band-aided it for me. I could still run, it still hurt, but now that all that's passed, the Infinity Reacts were on this pedestal for me. My buddy's like, "You got to try these shoes. They're better." I'm like, "How can they make them any better?" Well, I did my first long run into them today, and I'm like, "Wow, they're better." And I was just thinking to myself, companies are always trying to make something better for the consumer, right? And
Yeah,
we buy the better, but we don't work on ourselves to get better. Like we don't have limits. You reach a goal, move the goalpost, get a little bit better.
yeah,
Your potential is so untapped, and it's not going to be overnight. Just like you said, it's like Taylor Swift started way down here, it's probably singing at bars and everything, and now she's blown up. But you still have to go
yeah.
on that journey yourself and find out where your true potential is. And I don't think we ever actually reach it if we are that type of person who has the mindset of
Mhm.
continual growth. And that will change your life in ways that you cannot believe either, because it's not that you're not satisfied with anything, it's that you're actually pursuing the best version of yourself at all times.
Yeah, because I mean, if you get stuck on the like in a kind of loop of like if you're in the box, like you're in the cubicle, you're just doing a 9 to 5, you're kind of on cruise control, right? You're just doing the minimum to be to get it done. Where you see the creative people who kind of live on the bleeding edge or the cutting edge, who push genres, do things that people said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." Like you're in a canon and you challenge the canon. You say, "Well, you know what? It shouldn't. You don't have to do it this way. You could you could do it. You could invert it. You could change it. You could slide into mixed genres, mixed styles. You find that with the people who push the envelope, Like in my industry, like a guys like Hendrix or Coltrane
Mm.
or Miles Davis. What did they do? They invented new genres. They created. They weren't just within one genre. They come into multiple genres and invented genres, and people would say, "Oh, you're breaking the rules." It's like, well, that's the point. That's the point. The whole point is in your career. You should. Why would you just do what you do your first piece of work and you just keep on replicating that for 30 years? And some people, that's how they want to operate. They take the first thing they did and they just keep on repackaging it. Where other people, they get tired of doing that and they reinvent themselves, like a Bowie, change who he is every album, from like Thin White Duke to Lad Insane to Ziggy Stardust. He's like, he could have stayed in one of those personas and made that the persona for the whole time, but he didn't do that. That's when you push, like you're a pioneer, and it's hard because sometimes you hit a zenith, and that might be the best commercial version of yourself, but that doesn't mean because it's the most commercial version that's the most satisfying version of what you've done. There could be things that you did that weren't critically a success, but in terms of how they satisfied your soul, they made you feel better, and you had to go through it to get to the next thing.
Yeah,
So
experimentation is
yeah, it's key.
awesome.
Because not everything is measured by how many views you get, how many times somebody listens to it. Like just one person hearing it, the right person, could give you an opportunity that the number of views masks what you could have, what you actually, who you reached. If you reach
Yeah.
some producer and you only got 300 views on a post, but then because you put that thing out that was different, you got an opportunity you would never got. You didn't get the million views that this person got, but you got an opportunity they didn't get.
Mhm.
So you never know. It's like, it's not always measured by what is clearly, measurable.
Yeah, and in this day and age with technology as it is in social media, it's hard to stand out. So you got to do things that resonate with you, that really put a smile on your face, and that's where those unique moments can happen that could just explode you out of nowhere, and you're not expecting it. You'll probably do something or just go like, oh, that was just kind of fun, but like whatever, I'm gonna post it, and it just goes totally viral. People start reaching out to you, and it resonates with you, and that's what does it for you.
Yeah, it's
Like,
not like you are a master of the algorithm. It's like some people think it's like that blow up moment. It's like, oh, I did that on purpose. Like sometimes that just happens because you just threw it at the wall. But what you did compared to somebody else is somebody else has like 100 things sitting in their pocket and they're too scared to throw it at the wall. The difference is that you threw it at the wall and they
yeah,
didn't.
it's that first step. You just got to commit to it, and that's a lot of the things that I do with my clients is before they get going, they have the thought, right? And I get them to take actions. Like if you want to do something, obviously it needs to be beneficial to your health and fitness and family or whatever it might be, but take the damn step. Just try it, right?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that could happen? You're in the exact same spot you were before, right?
Yeah. It's like the first time you're a mountain biker and you go down that creek bed and you have to trust that your shocks are going to get you down it, right? But you don't know because you never did it. Like that first time you did it, well, you got to commit. Once you're coming down the creek bed, you're into it.
Yeah, you're in for the
You'll,
ride.
lear- you'll learn because you'll get up and off the bike. You'll get kicked off like a horse. It's like you figure it out, but it is that first step is hard. And I know so many people when they looked at that and it's like, whoa, that's not for me. They look, it's like, I'm not going to be a mountain biker. I'm not coming down that hill because I can't commit.
Yeah, it just takes that one moment of commitment, and then you're hooked.
Yeah.
Whatever
Then
it
you
is.
realize if you like it, then you might not know you like it. You might be so anxious about it
Mhm.
until you actually get in the moment. And then you discover like, oh, I'm not as scared of this as I thought.
Yeah, then you hit that flow state where everything's just cruising together, and you just feel amazing.
Yeah, I think it seems that's interesting because the flow state for an athletic person, for a creative person, like we get into a jam and you could,
Mhm.
it's like after you get people could ask me, what were you doing? It's like, oh no, I got in the zone.
So
It's kind of
you're
hard
gone.
to describe. It's like I got in the zone with the group and we were kind of nonverbal communication and it just kind of went. We kind of just trusted each other and we just created this thing.
Mhm.
And we're like, wow, we could try to analyze like what were you doing? It's like If I try to microanalyze it, I can't really tell you because it's just because I've been playing 20 years, I kind of know what to do.
That's
But
the definition of just like living in the moment and allowing what's happened to happen and accepting it. And the music, I love when that happens. So I had buddies that had bands growing up, and when they just started to jam out, and you hear a shift, and it just like everything syncs up, and it's like whoa, and they're just going at it. They have no clue what's going on, and those were the best sessions ever.
yeah, it's this thing where you start to trust each other and you trust your ear, because it's like a lot of it's listening.
Mhm.
And it's like you have to listen to what's going on. And I think it's kind of like in anything, you have to read your body, right? So you're reading your own body and you're reading the body language of everybody around you, including the crowd, right? And so if you're kind of a receiver and you can channel, like so you're receiving all this input, and when you're creative, you can receive all this input from the outside, but you also have this input from the inside, and you synthesize it into that art, and that's our talent. And I think athletes, you guys have to synthesize that moment too. You have to kind of know your body, you know what you can do, know if you've got more, know if you don't, right? And read the scenario situation, right? You got to read it to know what's possible and what's aspirational.
Yeah. I think the way for me to explain it's still hard, but I got it more in team sports. So when I was playing basketball and a little bit of football, I only played 2 years of football. It wasn't my thing, but everything slows down. It's like you're moving so slow in time and space, and you're able to micro analyze all the opponent's moves while feeling everything in your body and just knowing that exactly what you want to do is going to happen. And it's effortless, right?
Mhm.
And I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah,
It literally just starts to happen. And since you're in such a good flow, like the energy through you, everything around you is in your favor. That's how
yeah, it's that
I can
flow
put it.
state. It's
Yeah.
the flow state. It's the same. I've talked to authors who get in that flow state when they get into this session and they just start typing. And they
Mhm.
might have world build. They do a lot of pre-work, just like you do your training, as an artist. You go and do your character design, you do your world building, you build your actual song structure, and you say, well, this is the intro, this is the outro, this is the hook, this is that. You might have a structure, but then you go in and you say, you know what? I'm just gonna see what happens if I kind of deviate from this or just feel it. I might have this idea of what the structure should be, but then if I receive something that's different, I'm not opposed to changing it and going with the flow. And I think that's the kind of brilliant moment that like if you're willing to receive that instant information to make that kind of in the moment change, that's where you start to see like the brilliance or the connection or the kind of
Mhm.
ease of
Yeah.
it's not hard. It just feels good and it seems to happen.
Yeah, it's like I would call it like little micro risks, right? Like there's something that's pulling you a little way, which is off track. You're like, oh, let me just give it a shot. And then if it goes, like it's big time.
Yeah, I think it seems like there's a lot of connections that are similar between things. I try to find the parallels. When people say, "Whoa, being an athlete and being a musician is two different things." It's like, well, if you're in a band, it's like a team sport. It's like you're on a team, and you got to, finishing that song is like finishing that play is like finishing the game, right? Finishing that concert is like finishing the whole, the whole effort. And so being able to read your members of your band and be able to work as a team is it's the same kind of effort to connect.
Yeah, one of my professors, one of my favorite quotes: "Methods are many, concepts are few." This overlaps everything, right? So the method of whatever you do can be described by a few concepts, right? And this goes for everything, right? So say you want to accomplish a 6 minute piece. Well, how are you going to do it? Like the method of putting it together, like are you going in order or are you going to work on one chunk, which can be the same as a fitness journey where you want to accomplish, let's put out like well, let's do a cross country race on mountain bike. Cool. Well, how are you
Yeah.
going to go about that? Like, all right, well, step one, you need to get on a bike, right? But then how are you going to train? Well, training methods, there's so many, but the concept of it is that you're trying to accomplish this race as fast as possible within your own parameters, right? So you're going to put together all your own principles and methods to match the concept of what you're trying to accomplish. And it marries up with everything that we do in life. And that's how you have to look at, like, when people should not be running when they want to start a journey. Well, there's other methods that you can do to achieve the same concept.
Yeah, you're trying to get good cardiovascular health. It's like, well, maybe running isn't going to do it if it puts you to get a knee operation. If you have to get it, you pull something or you're going to be in the hospital. It's like, well, that's not really getting you to where you want to go. Is there another way to do it? You jump on a row machine, or do anything that's going to bring your cardio up with the bike machines and the rowers and all these other things. There's things you could do. You could be in the gym. You could go talk to somebody like you and get a plan to get your heartbeat up for like an hour or two, whatever, that's sustainable, that you're going to not drop like a diet, fad
And
diet.
I'm sure you have
drop it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have hard nose in music. Like there's something like you just like, nope, that is not me. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Same thing applies over here. Like I listen as a coach. I'm not going to say, hey, this is it. You can only do this and only that. And if you don't want to do it, see you later. Right? No. If you don't have an adaptable coach or an orchestrator in your field, like what's really going to happen? It's just friction, and then the job does not get done. So the flexibility of what you're doing is huge.
Yeah, I think to be open to what's possible. I have this term like expansive. So a lot of times in music, people like want to pin you down. They want to say, "Well, you're this, you're rock, you're hip hop, you're EDM, you're jazz, you're fusion." But what if you like? I go and tell somebody, it's like my A&R guy's like, I do expansive sound. What's that mean? That means I mix everything. That means it's a little progressive rock, it's a little funk, it's a little country. It changes. Like, so it's hard to define. Well, I can't work with that. I need to put you in an arena. And then it's like, so the world wants to put you into lanes, but sometimes, what I find is I like to cross lanes. And so that's just my style, is I like to jump into different things, and that's just the way I do it. And sometimes I'll have to market something that happens to fit another lane, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be in that lane for the next 5 years. I might just have one thing that matches that lane. And it's okay, fine. I can put one thing over there and I can put one thing over here. And it's like, I got things in multiple lanes.
Yeah, that's how life is. People say that people don't change. If you don't change, you're not evolving, right? You're not being expansive. So you got to constantly pursue something that resonates with you. And this goes with everything.
Was one thing about the pandemic, I think it taught people like you got to be more resilient. Because when the pandemic happened, people might have had something they were real comfortable with, like going in person and having something they had to have that structure. So a lot of people who were dependent on one leg and never thought of having other legs, then they had trouble. Like I'm a software guy, and I had already been doing remote design for like 10 years before the pandemic. So
Nice.
A lot of the work I can do from home in my home office. And I happened to be a road warrior because it would pay, because people would give you money for being on the road. But I didn't really like it, but I would do it for the money. But when that went away, well, I had a default as I could still do the online. I could still do it. I'm still doing it now. I've been online for the last 3 years. And I've decided not to go on the planes because I didn't want to deal with the hassle, because it's even worse than it used to be. Yeah, it used to be a road warrior, and I used to like it. And now it's like, oh, I don't like it at all. It's too much of a hassle. It's like I thought it was a hassle 5 years ago. It's like now it's like, oh, that's sitting on the tarmac's not cool. No, it's not cool. I'm not doing
Not
that.
fun. Yeah, that the pandemic was a big shift for a lot of people, and I think it made you or broke you, right? In whatever industry you were in, whatever work you were doing. And on my side of the world, well, this was 2020 Olympics. I was at my prime, ready to go. I was dealing with some plantar fasciitis and was kind of nervous about it, but we shifted to Zoom workouts, believe it or not, as track and field runners. That was a tough one to pull.
Wow.
But as a fitness professional, that's what exploded Crown. I had people reach out to me because back in 2013, I had the VicFit, which was VIC, virtually integrated coach. Nobody wanted anything to do with it. But then COVID came around and things exploded, right? And
Yeah, then you brought
not
back.
like it
Yeah,
went.
but you take advantage of it. Yeah, that's cool. You had
Yes,
something, and then you saw that it would apply.
yeah, and it was organic because I just had friends hit me up that like, hey, I just bought some dumbbells for at home. Can you put together a program for me? And I didn't have anything established yet, but they knew what I did because I was a personal trainer at the time still, and I had the gym, but the everything just kind of halted. But the online space opened up, and
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun learning more about it and applying it to help people. And now it's a huge shift because the pandemic actually saw huge jumps in physical activity for most people. All the tracking apps, like the Strava and like the MyFitnessPal type stuff, those numbers of users started to increase so much. So the people that took advantage of that moment where they were not having to go into work all the time were really able to dive in and develop on their fitness and health and come out of it much stronger. But then there's other
yeah,
people that I still see to this day, like, oh, it's been since like 2019 that I've gained weight. I'm just not happy anymore. I'm just not confident in myself. I'm like, all right, well, now's the time. Like, don't wait anymore. We're open and ready to go, whether you want to be online or in person. Like, we got you dialed. And the biggest barrier to entry for people because of the pandemic is their confidence to get back to themselves. So as a
hmm
coach, I'm trying to build belief in themselves and break those beliefs that they do have that are limiting. We don't
yeah.
want
Like
those
I
limiting
believe
beliefs.
it's
Yeah.
all like in the head. Like it's a lot of it is like headspace. There's so much stuff that people think it's like physical, but it's like every time I've run into it in multiple areas of my life, whether it's in like business design, limitations of people saying, "Well, that's not possible." Was like, well, it's all like computation. So we have a lot, like we have like unlimited capability in software design. You can see with AI. It's like there's a lot of stuff that we can do that's like unbelievable. And it's like if you put limitations, like it's all math. You can come up with anything, right? It's like you just have to have the imagination. So if the problem is that you have a limitation in your imagination because you can't perceive that something could be different than what you know, right? And so you're stuck in a mainframe mindset. Well,
Yeah. How
we're in a blockchain world. Like you're in a mainframe mindset,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, how can you truly be great if you don't believe you can be great? Right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you don't believe you can accomplish something, I can almost guarantee you're not going to get it. But with what I do coaching, I help people understand that it is possible. Maybe there's some roadblocks that we need to get through, hurdles, forks in the road, but it's navigating that and having that continual belief, because if you don't, that's when you get complacent. That's when you get stuck. That's when you get rooted into the rat race type thing with whatever you're doing, because you don't believe there's anything greater out there for you and you don't believe that you can accomplish it. So when you break through that limiting belief, that's when you find a new level and you're like, oh, then you build some confidence because you hit that one, then you get another one and another one, and then you just have this big stack of proof of, hey, I can do awesome things, and you keep doing it, and that's where the success comes in. It's not just all the way up here. It is little bit by little bit by little bit, and eventually you're so confident in yourself that you'll try those bigger risks that could have huge payoffs.
yeah. It's hard. It's hard to get. People get stuck in that limiting belief, where they say, "Well, I have to use this." Like I talked to some guys who are podcasters, right? Or guys who want to be podcasters, and I've been a podcaster since 2016. I know this guy. He said he wanted to get into podcast for like 2 years. But he said, "Well, I don't have the right mic. I don't have the right cameras. I don't have the right computer." And like, it's like when I started, I was just using an iPhone, whatever the iPhone was 5 years ago. I didn't have the mic. I didn't have the camera, and I just used the app. Oh, I said, "Well, that must sound terrible." I said, "Well, that's how I started, and now I'm doing it all the time." So you have to start somewhere. You don't always jump from 0 to 100. So you start with what you have, and then things happen, and you can get more. But if you have to wait until you have this type of mic or a special kind of camera. It's like, well, if you don't have the resources, you're never going to start. Right. And if you want to jump steps that's not the lot. That's not the flow. Like you can start at a different point. You don't have to start at the most professional point. You have to get into it. It's entry. There's an entry point for anything. But I think
Yeah.
people want to jump. They want to jump steps because then they see somebody else and say, "I want to be there." Well, how you can't do that? Be there without doing the work.
It's either going to cost time or money.
Yeah.
Got to put in the time. Most people, that's what you got to do. And what I've found is excuses are so plentiful. Like he didn't have the mic or the camera. Well, go get them. Oh, well, I don't have the finance to do. Okay, well, then just start. Well, I don't want the quality to be bad. And then you just get this vicious cycle of excuses of not wanting to actually do the dang thing. So just take the step. If you don't have the finances to get the nice stuff or to start working on your fitness with a coach, just take one step towards actually working on whatever that goal is. I don't care what it is. Like, just take a step. Because I didn't have the nicest setup at first. Like, my garage gym was not the best at first. It was literally just a barbell and weights. I didn't know I was going to run the 400 meters at a high level. I was only running track to do high jump and long jump, but just things kept falling into place and just another step after another step. And then it compounds into an amazing podcast. You got your lighting, an amazing mic, like producing all this stuff. It just takes time and dedication.
Yeah, it's just a lot of it is actually even learning. I wasn't the most social person. My 17-year-old self, I would have never been on a mic. And as I got older, I got more confidence. So by the time I'm 56, in the last 6-7 years, I got to a point where I got past my fear of public speaking. So if you're going to be a podcast, well, you got to get beyond that. So the thing is, like, you have to start. So I started in audio only with no video. And so then I didn't even have to worry about how I looked or whatever. But then, like, you still had to start in the, in the first 5-10 episodes, probably not the most perfect episodes ever, but you kept on going. He's like, well, I failed. So some people give themselves they're so down on themselves. They've so much of self-analysis that, like, oh, it was terrible, terrible, terrible. Then it's like they give themselves an excuse. Oh, I was so bad, I can't do that again. I embarrassed myself. Where the other point is like, well, what does it matter? I'm just going to keep on trying until I get better. You keep on showing up. And that's a perseverance. And you have to have a little bit of vulnerability and not get, allow yourself to get trashed from your own self-analysis.
Yeah, it's something that I think everybody can truly work on, and just making that commitment to yourself. Because, like you said, the confidence thing. I was the shyest, quietest kid ever, and when I first got my job as a personal trainer, like, okay, go out to the floor and talk to 20 people. What? I have to talk to people? I thought I was just training people. And now people are like, you're shy. I'm like, yeah, I'm a total introvert. Like, this is not me. Like, I'm cool just sitting at home, working on my computer or reading a book or just hanging out with my dog. Like, I'm a family guy. I'm not one to really go out. But guess what? We all have things to work on. And that's one of mine. It's just putting myself out there a little bit more and being more confident in connecting with people. And that took years. That was started in probably when I became team captain in 2012. And I was like, I have to lead meetings. Like, what? I don't want to stand in front of the team of 25 people. And now I've done talks in front of hundreds.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, it's like riding a bike. It's like once you start to realize, like, you take on your fear. And it's hard. You like a lot of people like it. Like a lot of times with what I do, like in technology, we have to relearn everything all the time because tech keeps on changing. We're going from COBOL mainframes to like blockchain to AI. There's all these new opportunities, and people could look at the end of the world and say, "Well, AI is going to take all the jobs." But I've been looking, like, there's tons of jobs for analysts to learn how to use AI, and these jobs pay crazy money. And so, like, the people that's always going to destroy the world. Yeah, well, yeah, you can look at everything negatively. You could say that all the time. People probably would have the horse and buggy and look at the car. That's going to destroy the world. But you're like, it's different opportunities. You're not putting the horseshoes on now. You got the guys changing the tires. It's like things change. So it's like the technologies evolve, and then you have to you have to ramp up. So the skill sets that we knew 5 years ago aren't going to be skill sets we know 5 years from now. There's people who are going to have to learn and kind of step up, and a lot of times we're going to have to kind of do a lot of self-education, watching YouTube channels, going to coaches, taking online classes, not just what we learned in college, but like as a software guy, we have to relearn things all the time. Whether we go to school or not, we relearn tech like every day, new things.
Yeah,
And
you're constantly moving forward.
yeah, you can't be adverse to that, because that's the where we're going in the world, that you can't expect to just show up without putting in the effort. You have to put some with mental effort, physical effort. It's like a multiple legs. There's like it's not going to be hard to be around in this modern world, without putting the load in.
Yeah, if you're not moving forward just a little bit, you're going backwards really fast in the modern world. And this goes for every industry, health, fitness, jobs. And if you're not trying to learn AI, like, I don't think it's replacing jobs. It's enhancing people's ability to do more work. You can't replace what we do. It still needs the inputs.
Oh yeah, and you still have to have it. Like, they have whole thoughts about how to use it within certain technologies. It's actually creating new roles. It's creating new roles where analysts like me go and say, well, how can I use this as a tool? It's like in music, like, well, the sampler. Well, the sampler allowed hip hop to be created, EDM be created, and there's still musicians around, because it takes it's a certain tool that you can use. Like, you can overuse it and just use it. But a lot of times what people do now is like, well, they use it with a drummer, they use it with a real guitar player, they use it with other musicians. And there's other people say, well, it's going to replace everybody. And that's the same thing with AI. You can have it be in your part of your structure of what you're doing as a musician, but it doesn't replace me playing one of my instruments. It's an addition to me playing some of my instruments, and it allows me to do something that maybe I couldn't do. I could bring a whole orchestra in, and I couldn't afford to book them. Now I can bring it in, and I'm still playing my keyboard. So it gives you opportunity to do stuff you couldn't do. So you look at it as like, oh, now I have capabilities I didn't have as one person. I can suddenly do things I couldn't have done. So it gives you a lot of capability as an individual, and as a creative person or an entrepreneur, you can get a lot of capability that as a small guy, you could get the capabilities of a Fortune 500 company with a very small operation. Because now you have a tool that can ramp up to something you could have never done.
Yeah.
That's the kind
I
of
love it.
But instead of saying it's going to be Terminator 3.
Trust me, we're nowhere near close to that. At least I hope.
We're not near that yet. Not that can't happen, but that's not happening tomorrow.
Yeah. But it's cool to see that, like, in my industry, personal trainers are going to get replaced. Coaches are going to get placed. Have you heard of Coach's Eye? AI can't do that, right?
Yeah, I don't think they can do
that. I see a minute little shift or adjustment. I can make a cue to enhance your experience, right? Or if I like my check-in forms, I'm looking at stuff to look at trends where, yeah, AI can look at it, but they don't know you. We have conversations and we figure things out. I have
a human relationship. They don't have that down. They're not sentient yet. They're not. That's the thing people don't miss. The sentient nature of a human being, the conversation that you have with another human being, the nonverbal communication, the look, like the body language, all that stuff. In the future, maybe AI will get to like a Star Wars level, and it actually is like sentient, or like Star Trek Data level. But it's not there, right? So the idea that it can do what you do as a human being, no, it's nowhere near. Your mind is so much more complicated and more powerful a computer than any computer that's ever been built. Even though the computers today are really advanced, still don't match a human brain.
Yeah.
And some people have been kind of told, oh no, AI is like better than human brains. Like, no, it's not. It's just kind of like sampling. It's taking stuff that already exists and putting it in very interesting orders to make it look like it's intelligent.
Yeah.
But it's not original. It's not original.
It's
quick. It's not. It's very fast, but it's not that original.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because like you can go on ChatGPT and type in and looking for the answer for anything, right? when I go in chat GPT versus somebody else, if we're like, say we're designing a program. All right, chat GPT, give me a program 3 days a week. I'm going to the gym. It'll spit something out. If I put in chat GPT, like, hey, chat GPT, I need a program that's 3 days a week with undulating periodization. I have a shoulder injury, so don't put this in. And I want cardio in at zone 2. Use the graph to display out, like,
Yeah, you're
you have
giving
to
it way more
put
detail.
in.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
plugging in way more details.
only a professional can do that. Somebody
Yeah.
that just goes in and tries to get a program, they're going to get anything that you could get spit out on Google on a regular day.
Yeah, it's just
Right?
gonna go and grab a lot of stuff and then present it, and it's not that and when they're finding it's not very accurate, and some of its things are incorrect, and it puts them in the wrong context and the wrong. It can give you bad information. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, it'll give you an answer, but that answer might not be what's actually needed for you or actually correct for your situation. And so
Yeah.
it
And
still
that's,
needs discernment from a human being that understands what you're talking about.
yeah. And that's exactly why, like, it's actually tonight. I have a group call with all my clients. So we're face to face and we have conversation. You can't do that with a virtual app. Like, it's not going to happen. You're just going to get inputs and outputs based off of a yes or no that you put in versus having a real interaction and the body language and the emotion behind what may be going on. Because, like, I do more than just the fitness and the nutrition. There's so much
Yeah,
more
yeah.
to it. It's
There's a
the
lot of
primary. Yeah.
depth. It's the
And,
depth. It's the depth that, the kind of human factor and the depth of understanding, and then just, the knowledge base that a human has, and then your ability to have empathy and to read the
yes.
situation and to read that person and not just throw a pat answer. And just because it's fast and just because it can grab all this human knowledge, but it can't really create new things. That's a lot of times I was talking to a guy and we're into algorithms and stuff. It's like, yes, it's not really creating anything new. It's grabbing the
Mhm.
things that already exist. So it's not going to go and do an Einstein moment. It's not going to go and figure something new like that. It might find something you missed and put together a picture of something you missed from knowledge that's already there. And then you will come up with the Einstein moment because you're the human being. You'll figure it out. You'll actually take that further step, but I doubt it's ever going to come up with that on its own until it can become sentient. It's not sentient. So,
Yeah.
but that's another place we go. We always go off the rails a little bit, but
Hey,
but
I
I
dig
think
it. It's part of it.
yeah, it's part of the whole thing. But I know we are kind of winding down. We get into the top of the hour, and I don't know if you have an appointment or anything, but we like to chat, giving you the heads up. But like, yeah, I think we've had a really good conversation about like dedication and the kind of understanding that if you get into something, you do have to go into it one step at a time and have a kind of mindset of like, what are you trying to accomplish? And then talk to a coach like yourself to help you figure out how best to do that for your individual situation, right? Because that's what you offer people is like you listen to their story and then you figure out what's going to work for them, right?
Yeah, we definitely dive into the life aspect of it. I try to get behind what the physical always says and to create the mental aspect that just transforms your life outside of just going to the gym or going for a run or riding your bike or anything like that. There's a lot that goes into it for sure.
I want to let people know the links we have up there, they're fully clickable. Not clickable right now, but when we're published on all the platforms, and we're on all the major podcast platforms. So after this show, you can check it out. We'll be out there. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch right now. But by tomorrow, we'll be on all the other major podcast platforms like Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple. But I want to thank you again for being a guest on the Family Electric Coach podcast. It's been really cool. And I wish you a good luck in all your endeavors and hope you have a good um, uh, holiday season because I know it's coming up. I forget
Thank
to
you.
tell
Thank you.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just in that flow state. But yeah, it was a great conversation. And thank you for having me in here. And I'm excited to see what grows for you as well. And keep on doing it, man.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.